Great. Hi, Mona.
Hi,
How are you doing today?
I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this session last week when we met for the first time, you talked a lot about a lot of the difficulties that you've been having at work and what brought you into therapy. And I got to learn a lot of your background and just your life. So this session is going to be a little bit different. I'll talk a little bit about what treatment will look like, and we'll talk about different relationships and communication and patterns and all that. But before I even get ahead of myself, so I'll explain a little bit about what therapy will be.
Okay.
So, well, actually, even before I begin, so you have this new job, and this is like a big transition, like a role transition in your life. What emotions specifically have you felt as a result of this change?
I mean, I'm happy that I have this new job. I'm making more money, so I feel a lot more independent, and like my parents were always very critical of me growing up. So it's nice to almost have like this promotion, but at the same time, I'm just scared that they're going to think that I'm not good enough. They're going to judge me and think that the quality of my work is not where it needs to be at. And, and I'm afraid to ask anyone for help or ask them for constructive criticism because then they might see that I'm not good enough, so.
Okay, so I see how you kind of tied in some of what we talked about last week, like some of your childhood and your parents and how that's even influencing you at your job right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just, my mom is just, I don't know, like she makes me feel like I'm never good enough, and she says it's her way of motivating me to always do better. But I mean, like I just always have that question in the back of my mind. I mean, I think anyone is capable of doing better, if they're given the opportunity to, but if they feel that I'm not good enough, would they even give me the opportunity? So.
Yeah, and that's hard to kind of process and like be experiencing all of these negative emotions while you're at a new job. That's already a big change. So, yeah, see, that's really hard. So, well, there's a theory in psychology that basically ties in together how your different relationships and social support and just how communication and relationships affect your emotions and like causes some symptoms. And when you find that maybe there's a lack of significant relationships or significant people in your life, it kind of causes some distressing emotions, maybe some loneliness, sadness. But on the opposite end, when people experience these great people in their lives and great relationships, they experience some like more contentment and more fulfillment in their lives. Have you found that to be the case in your life?
Well, I mean, I would describe myself as a loner. I don't have friends. And I'm just so busy with work. And while I'm there, I don't really interact with anyone. And then it's like it's not until everyone's leaving, and then I overhear people talking about getting together, for dinner or for the weekend or something like that. That and like I'm like, I wasn't invited, and I was never invited. And when you get older, I mean, like they say, when they say that you make your friendships and you get your relationships while you're in school, when you're younger and stuff like that, or even in college. And I was always so busy doing my work and trying to do well that I never really had time for friends. And I don't know how to get out of that, where I just want to be able to do my work. I don't want them to see me as not. I don't want them to think that I'm just socializing and I'm not capable of completing all my work. So.
Okay, so it sounds like you've gotten into this kind of routine or pattern of placing either schoolwork or your job before friendships and socializing.
Yeah.
Okay, and you said that you've always been a loner, but it almost, correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounded like you wanted to be invited to some of these things after work.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, even though I'm not interacting with them, I'm free, you know, and no one asks to see if I am free or if I would want to participate. I mean, even if I said no, it'd be nice just to be invited, you know, so it's, I don't know.
Yeah, so you're focused on your work, but at the same time, you want to have some of that social engagement afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess, I'm not good at small talk.
Mhm.
I feel like I have to rely on the other person um, to engage, I guess. I don't know. Like, I just, what do I say? You know, like, after, how are you? Like, what do you say after that?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that's difficult sometimes, and especially some people are very forthcoming with that small talk, and they'll kind of do that for you. But if someone isn't, it's like, okay, like, what do I do now? Like, how do you continue the conversation? Right. So, kind of going along that same track, you have this new role in your job, and you're saying that friendships are something that haven't really come easily to you, or haven't been too much in your life. So, what part of therapy would look like is kind of assessing the people you do have in your life, or even some of those interactions that maybe aren't as positive, or is not going as well as you'd like. And we really thoroughly like assess it and just talk about like how it was said, what they said back to you. And since I wasn't in the moment with you, just for me to kind of understand what the communication looks like and what these relationships look like to you. And to then, with these more fulfilling relationships, then that'll help reduce some of these symptoms that you're experiencing. So how does that sound?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Okay. So because this is very relationally focused, and I can't go with you to work or to these different places, and we're only together for 45 minutes each week, it will take a lot of practice outside of therapy. So then you could bring in different scenarios, whether it's like an argument or disagreement or just some kind of communication, and we'll really like pick it apart in detail.
Okay.
So with that being said, what was the latest maybe disagreement or maybe issue that you could think of that you had at work?
Well, I'm a manager I'm one of the managers at my job, and I trained everyone that's in my department, but now we have new managers, and I trained them to become managers and stuff like that. So I guess they look at me as like the lead of all the managers, and we get these spreadsheets or whatever, but they're so detailed and just got so much crap all over them that it's almost hard to really gather what the big picture is. So I've worked on them so that we could kind of just minimize it and then just see. And then we can also see like a history, like a progression to see whether our employees are improving or if they're still in problem areas like they were before. So are they still in that same trend? So I went up to one of my colleagues and I said, and I mean, I did this work for him. So like, that's where, I don't know. So I went up to him and I was like, I'm like, I emailed you this, but I just wanted to explain it to you so that you know. And he kind of like rolled his eyes. And then he was like, okay. And I was like, well, this is just showing, you have 4 people in your team that are still in this red area that they're showing that they're still not doing the work that they're supposed to do. That they're still in like that problem area or whatever. And like that it's showing a trend that it's been like a month now. And I mean, like every week we're supposed to address it. So I don't know if he's addressing it with them or not. But then I'm pointing out, listen, you've got these people and it's been like a month now and they're still in this area. And he pretty much told me to mind my own business.
Wow. And how did kind of that interaction end, or what did it leave you feeling like?
I felt almost like he was attacking me and saying that it was none of my business and to stop looking at his team and what they're doing.
I see. So yeah, part of what we'll be doing today is even diving into details. So you kind of told me what was said. Was that exactly how you said it, like those exact words, or kind of walk me through that?
I said,
So you go from where's your office at, and yeah, just totally put me into where.
so, his office, I mean, they're not really offices, it's like cubicles.
Okay.
And I walked from my cubicle, and it's like you kind of have to go through like a small little hallway and then go down another small hallway, and then his is like at the very end. And so I went up to his cubicle and I said, hey Emil, did you get the email that I sent you?
And you said it with that same pace and tone. And
Well, yeah, I mean, like I was just walking up to him, I'm like, hey Emil, did you get the email that I sent you?
okay.
And he just looked at me like what? Like almost like pissed off the way that I said it. And I'm like, I didn't, like, and I'm like looking at him like I'm not trying to come off as a bitch, you know, I'm just asking you, did you get the email? Because I know that we get a lot of emails, so I'm just asking you if you got the email that I sent you.
So he didn't say anything, he just kind of had like a shocked look.
And he goes, I just sat down. And he just gave me this look like he thought like I was interrogating him. I'm like, and I mean, I'm thinking that's not how I meant to come across. And it's almost like he's reading into what I said, and that's not what he's reading in between the lines when there's no point in reading in between the lines, type of thing. So.
And then he gives you that look, and then how did you respond back to him?
So I had the paper in my hand, and I said, something like, the email shows all of the teams, and I said, but this paper is just your team alone, and you can see that these 4 people are still in the problem area and have been for a month, because it's broken up by weeks. And I said, so I'm like, you can see here that, you know, they've been in red for 4 weeks now. And, I mean, he's like snatched the paper out of my hand to look at it. Because I was holding it like look at the paper.
So he just snatched it right out.
And so he goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So then I know, and he didn't invite me to sit down or anything. So I'm just kind of, he's sitting, I'm standing, like it was a very awkward. And then, I mean, there's people working around there too, you know, so, and,
so he has the paper in his hands, and
yeah. So then he's looking at the paper, and, like, he looks confused when he's looking at the paper, and I'm like, their names are in red, and it shows, so he's got the whole list of people on his team. So he's got like 15 people on his team. Only 4 of them are in red, and the 4 show red for 4 weeks, whereas like other people, it might only be like one little cell that's red, but their name is not red. I mean, if you look at the paper, it's really easy to read. And not only that, but I've been sending you emails every week, so for you to be looking at it like you're confused, like I was just very irritated by that. Like it's like, why aren't you able to read this spreadsheet? So I'm pointing, and I'm like, these 4 people, I'm like, right here, you can see the 4 weeks. And he said, yeah, I got that. Like that, like, yeah, I got that.
Wow. Yeah, so you're feeling frustrated because you've already told him this so many times, and he's confused, and actually it's almost the way you're making it sounds like he's giving you attitude.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wasn't frustrated, I was more like, why are you looking at it so confused?
Okay.
So I was confused as why I'm confused, why are you confused?
Okay, so his confusion was causing confusion for you.
Yeah, because it's like, are you not opening my emails when I'm sending it to you? Because I'm spending this time trying to help you out so that we can improve the teams, and then here you are looking at it like this is the first time you've ever seen it. Like he's looking at it like it's a different language. So,
and then what happens next in this interaction?
So I was like, yeah, these 4 people are showing, and you can see the 4 weeks or whatever, they're in red. And he goes, yeah, I got that. So then I said, oh, I'm sorry, it seemed like you were confused at looking at the spreadsheet. And then he just put the paper down, like he was like dramatic about it, put the paper down and then just gave me this look. So I'm like that's you looked at my paper like you were confused at what you were reading. And it has your team's names on it, and only your team, and then you're looking at it like you're confused. So how do you want me to respond? You're confused.
Okay. So at this point, no words are being said now. It's just kind of body language.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he just slams his paper down, he turns, and he just looks at me and he goes like this, like. So like he's almost, I don't know, like I almost felt like he was testing me to see what I was going to say or do at that time. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, I just thought that you should know where they're at. And he goes, got it, thanks. And then he just turns and goes back to his computer.
Okay. So
And then I see him go to my email and delete it.
oh wow. So he did that in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you react in any way when he did that?
I said something like, maybe I shouldn't have said it. I said something like, okay, we'll see if they're on the list next week then.
And what is it that makes you say, maybe I shouldn't have said that?
Because he pissed me off at that time, so I was responding. Like he got under my skin and he knew he got under my skin. So like almost like a middle finger to you, like, okay, we'll see if you actually even work on it. Because he clearly doesn't. They've been on it for 4 weeks. He doesn't care. And I feel like he was mad at me for pointing out where his team needed to improve.
Okay.
And pointing out that, listen, you've known this for 4 weeks now. You're not doing anything. So at the end, I was like, okay, we'll see if they're on the list again.
Okay.
So he was not happy.
Okay, yeah, so we kind of picked apart that whole interaction because there was a lot that happened, a lot of words said, emotions said, even body language and things.
Yeah.
I like how you were able to maybe kind of describe what you intended to say, but how he might have perceived it. And so I really want to take that time to, first of all, kind of analyze that. So even from the very beginning, when you're walking over to him with the paper, what was kind of the intention of what you were wanting to get across, and what were you hoping for in return?
The intention was for him to see that I'm helping him out. You know, I don't have to do this. I don't have to dissect that spreadsheet that they send us. But I do it because I actually do have time. You know, I finish all my work early, so I do have time, and my team is the best team that's working there, but it's because it's the oldest team. So I've been trying to help the other teams to get on get on track pretty much. So it's almost like my team is almost on autopilot, so I have a lot more free time than anyone else. So the other teams are hiring and firing people a lot more, whereas my team has been there for a very long time. But that's only because I'm the oldest manager there, so I have the oldest team. And as the new teams were started or created, then the new managers came on with them, if that makes sense. So, so I was just trying to help them, and then our bosses wanted me to help them. And I just feel like he doesn't appreciate it.
So you, given your experience and how successful your team has been, since you have that free time, you're like, okay, and well, it was also asked of you to help out him and his team that's struggling. So you wanted him to appreciate your effort, and how would you specifically have wanted him to respond to your first comment?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, because even if he said, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, would have been like a bullshit answer because I send that spreadsheet every week. I mean, I guess he could have said, you know, yeah, I've noticed that this is an ongoing problem with them. Can you help me? Or what can I do to fix it? Or, I mean, like, I guess I'm there if they need help, but he's not asking me for help. And I've told him, you know, before, you know, if you need any help, you can just ask. And there's only so many times that you can say that before it's like, okay, what the hell do you want? So I try not to offer it too much. So, I mean, I guess I was wanting him to ask for help so I could help him correct the situation.
Okay. So if you had gone in there with the exact same statement and you would have maybe like apologized and asked you for help, then how would you have responded had you gone that route?
I probably would have sat down
Okay.
and I would have said, let's look over their files and see where it is that they're having problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be something small that just needs to be fixed. Or, I probably would have just done that, just said, let's look over their files, because it might be something that you're just easily overlooking.
So as opposed to how you originally described the actual situation, you sounded a lot more agitated and your voice was raised, and you said he was sitting down and you were standing, and now this time around in this hypothetical situation, when he asked for help, you even sounded more calm explaining it to me, and he sat down, and it seemed like a more comfortable environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I see you're smiling. What's kind of going through your mind as we're talking about this?
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. But I didn't feel. I think that by him asking for help, it's almost like, here, take a seat. Like he's welcoming me into his small little environment. Whereas I'm walking up and he just looks at me, and it's not really, hey, how are you doing? Take a seat, let's talk or whatever.
So it's not so welcoming the way he actually responded.
Yeah.
Okay, and then following through then, you'd be looking at the charts, you'd be looking at all of this data, kind of how would it progress and end in this in this new situation as opposed to how it actually went down? In terms of like what he's saying, what you're saying, kind of the emotions.
I would think that he would be more open to hearing me.
Okay.
I guess I would feel more appreciated that I'm doing this extra work and he's actually appreciating it and then he's actually wanting my help since I am more experienced versus he's just brushing me off and almost telling me like I don't know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It's like I do know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And I trained you on top of that. So I know what you know, plus more, so I just found that to be like he was being arrogant when he had no right to be that way, I felt.
So even though these maybe themes or topics weren't expressed in the actual conversation, what you perceived of it was him not appreciating you and maybe telling you that you don't know what you're talking about, even though you have kind of that experience and background to prove it. Mm-hmm. So he didn't actually say that to you, but that's how you took his actions.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so you would have gone through it together, you would have felt appreciated, and then how would the conversation have ended?
I probably would have ended, let's see if, looking at these problem areas and trying to work with them, if that will improve it for them for next week.
Okay. So it sounds like you had a similar statement in the actual exchange, in the actual conversation, but maybe the tone and possibly the concept behind it was different.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you describe those differences between what you just said now what actually occurred?
That I'm actually hoping for genuine improvement, and that it's more of like, let's see if this, this piece of the puzzle is what really fits, versus the first one, I was pretty much telling him, you're an arrogant ass, and you don't know what you're doing, and you don't even care, and watch, they're going to be on this damn list again.
That sounds like extreme differences there, right? Even though similar things were said, but the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we talked a lot about how kind of you perceived and the different thoughts and emotions you were having through this exchange. Were there any statements that you said that you think he could have perceived in a different way, or like maybe?
Yeah, when I first came up to him, he heard me coming up. But then he almost looked at me like surprised that I'm there, and I don't know, What was your question? Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So we talked more from like kind of your perspective of how things were. But when you originally told me about the situation, you said that you might have come off wrong in a couple moments here or there. Can you think of any specific things that you said that you might have interpreted as more wrong than you intended, or?
Yeah, I think the first comment I made when I said, these 4 people, that they were still on the list.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was showing him the paper. And then he just gave me this look. I think at that moment he interpreted me as being nosy or something, like he wasn't appreciating me getting involved or whatever.
Okay.
And pointing it out to him. Okay.
So if that was the case, if he did interpret it that way, it's almost like his maybe rude reaction kind of makes sense. It's like she's kind of jabbing at me, so I might jab back.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So if we can go back and kind of start the conversation over, how do you think you would be able to say it in a way that he might not perceive it as like no mistakes as to no errors in him perceiving it the wrong way?
I guess I could have asked him, to talk about the email that I sent him. And then I wanted to clarify it a little bit more.
Okay.
If I could.
Okay. Yeah, so part of, sometimes at jobs and people around, we can't always control how they talk back to us or how they behave. But the pretty cool thing actually is the fact that you have control over how you respond to others, how you talk to them, and even things that you could say the exact same statement, and it be taken 2 completely different ways just by the tone and the way it's said. So that's why I was wanting to just really kind of dig into this specific scenario and see how, we're kind of hypothesizing like this hypothetical situations of how when you say things differently or he says things differently, it completely changes the situation. And has this, you said Emil, is it? Have you had any other harsh interactions with him before or uncomfortable?
Yes. We've joked around before, and there was one time where him and one of the other managers, I was full-blown pregnant, and they took out 4 of the main keys on the keyboard that you use. Mm-hmm. He took them out and he switched them all out.
Oh, is that part of a prank or?
Yeah, they're playing a prank on me, and I'm sitting there and I'm putting my password in to turn on the computer, and it wasn't working, and it locks me out. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what my password is. And I'm I literally felt like I completely forgot what my password was, because I was sitting there and looking at the keys and typing in the password, and it wasn't working. So I'm like, I just forgot my password. I don't know what it was. And they were in the cubicle next door laughing at me. And then they finally come out and they're like, we did this to you or whatever. And it was funny, and I was laughing, but for that moment, I really thought that I was losing my mind.
Right, yeah. So they got some enjoyment out of it, but you didn't experience such crazy things.
Yeah, afterwards I was laughing, and to this day we joke around about it. There's a lot of moments that we have that we joke around, but then there's other moments where it feels very almost competitive, intense. Mm-hmm. And I don't find it to be competitive because our teams are different. It's like apples and oranges, I feel, because my team has been there for so long that it's not really fair for them to be looked at compared to the other groups. And that's something that we've discussed before, and I've even said it before. So I think that's something that we're all aware of, that I'm kind of there just for paperwork, pushing paperwork through, not really to coach and educate my team, because they're already where they need to be at. They're actually doing better than they're expected. Mm-hmm. But so it's almost like my role has changed from a manager to more as to guide the other teams, to help guide the other teams. So.
Right, and I see what you're talking about the apples to oranges, because you and your team have so much experience that you're already kind of no big deal,
Yeah.
but with Emil and his, and they're struggling as well, and they need that extra help from someone that happens to be you.
Yeah, and I know that he's very frustrated because he's always having to fire people and stuff like that because they're not up to par, and he keeps, so he's almost like trying to think of the word, overwhelmed with paperwork.
Okay.
So I was trying to help him.
Right.
He didn't see it like that. So.
And even in addition to him, are there any other people at your job or just anywhere in your life where you also seem to have maybe some like conflicts with or more disagreements with?
Yeah, with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're very critical of me, and they just make it seem like I'm never good enough at anything that I do. And my mom made a comment once that I'll never learn from anything. That I can have all the education in the world and I'll never learn.
And what kind of led up to her saying that?
She was talking to my father and I about something, and I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was more like she was trying to prove a point about something, and then I corrected her, and then she just brushed my opinion like my opinion never doesn't matter because I'll never learn from anything.
Sounds like a very hurtful statement to hear from your mom.
Yeah.
How did you process all of that?
I said, well, at least I have an education.
Okay. And
she dropped out in high school.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of dissecting as we did with your conversation with Emil, how did she respond to your statement of at least I have an education?
She said that I'm lucky that she paid for my education, and I said, no, you didn't pay for it. I said my father paid for it, and my school loans paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because she doesn't work.
Okay.
My father's the only one that works.
Mm-hmm. And what happened next after?
She left the room really angry at me, and she didn't talk to me for like 3 months after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was quite the argument.
Yeah.
That made an impact on both of your relationships.
She said that she told my father that she felt that I was very selfish and spoiled. She pretty much called me a spoiled little brat to my dad.
And you found out afterwards through your father, or how?
Yeah, my father told me. He said that I need to watch the way I talk to her, and that it's not just his money, it's her money too.
Mm-hmm.
And that my mom was the one that was at home taking care of all of us, so that was like her job or whatever, and that, that they decided early in their marriage that when they started having kids that she wasn't at work. So for me to throw in her face was not fair. Mm-hmm. And that's what she's throwing in my face.
Right. So. Okay, so it seemed like you were both kind of
chapping each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like for you as a whole, between like your mom's comments and then not talking to her for 3 months and then hearing what your dad had to say about the whole situation?
I felt like my dad was defending my mom, mm-hmm. and that he refused to validate my feelings and how I felt. And like he was there and he was just sat there. He didn't even say anything. Mm-hmm. And I just find it frustrating because she treats me like I'm a little kid, and that I can't make any decisions for myself and she has to do it all for me. And I'm not even asking for her opinion or anything like that. And I think that's what bothered her, is that I didn't want her opinion and she's giving it to me. And like, but you're wrong. Mm-hmm. Like she's offering her, like I didn't ask for her opinion because she doesn't have, it was like something for work. I can't even remember what the fight originated from, but I was talking to my father about it and she's inputting her opinion. I mean, we're both looking at her like, you don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And she was offended by that. That's how it all, yeah.
So the fact that you feel like she's kind of always trying to place her opinions or thoughts in there, and when you didn't ask for it, so that kind of led to a more maybe like aggressive statement, or
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, I wasn't asking for her opinion,
right?
so, and for her to say that to me was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like very hurtful. And on top of the fact that your mom said such a hurtful statement, you're saying that it kind of wasn't so nice that your dad wasn't validating either. He was just kind of sitting there and then ended up taking her side. So that was an unfortunate situation, and kind of that's a great feelings afterwards.
Yeah.
And how would you have wanted that conversation to either begin or end, or like how would you have wanted it to go differently?
Well, I mean, I can understand her wanting to be included in the conversation. I think I would have preferred her, I would have preferred her to, maybe ask what our opinion was and then help us process it, rather than her putting in her opinion, because it was so left field. Like, I don't even remember what it was about, but I just remember my dad and I looking at each other like, the hell is she talking about? And then I'm like, that's not, I said something like, that's not what we're saying. Like, I'm not, and I told her, I'm like, you're not understanding what we're talking about. And then she's like, oh, and she's like, you're so, she said something like, you think you're so much better than me, or something. And I mean, I can understand not feeling uncomfortable when you don't know what's going on or couldn't understand the information that's being spoken about, but I mean, she could have either not been in the conversation, or she could have just said, can you explain it to me, since I don't know about your field or whatever, so that can you explain it so I can be a part of this conversation.
So you would have preferred her to ask politely to be introduced into the conversation or invited into the conversation, rather than just like butting in, as you said?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. And had she done that, how would things have proceeded differently?
I probably would have been impatient, because then I would have to explain it to her. But then at the same time, that shows that, she is interested in whatever it is that we're discussing. So I would have, hopefully I would have tried to explain it to her so she can understand. So then I think after that, her offering her opinion, even if she doesn't know what she's talking about, would be easier to swallow, because at least she's trying to get some background for it first, rather than just giving an offhanded comment.
Okay. So had things gone differently, had she asked to be invited into the conversation, and you would have been, as you said, maybe a little bit impatient, but you might have explained it, and then that would have trickled down to, how do you think it would have gone after that?
I don't think she would have said that comment. So we probably wouldn't be on non-speaking terms for 3 months.
Okay. So, all right. And part of the point of going through this and kind of rehashing is not like, what if I had done that, or kind of like to beat yourself up about things, but just as the meal situation, and as we will continue to do therapy, just kind of process more the details of what is said, how it's said, and even just problem solve for ways that you can't control what your mom says or does, you can't control what Neil and any other individual in your life that you might have disagreements with. But it's amazing how what you say and do can actually impact to more closely get to what the point you wanted.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay. And how do you see maybe applying this for, whether it's the next conversation with your mom or Neil, if there's someone else, for future conversations?
I mean, I guess, especially with like a Neil, since I have to work with him, I can ask him, can I show you something, so that where he can be annoyed, he also allowed me to. So, maybe by him showing like his annoyance or whatever, I would see it more as him being frustrated rather than taking it out on me because you were allowing me to. Versus if he said, no, I don't have time for it, then I would just say, okay. And then just walk away. Or say something like, just let me know when you're free.
Okay. So, some possible disagreements like that, or some things might have been avoided.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are running out of time, but as I said, this is something focusing a lot of communication, relationships, and even future-wise, like kind of building some of that social support. So what I'd like you to do is for this next week to kind of pay attention to some of these conversations and things like that, and ones that have gone well, maybe not so well, so we could then process it again in therapy and just kind of problem solve ways that things could have been done better, said better, and to help with future conversations and relationships.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a lot easier.
Right.
Things are always harder when you try to do it out. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is also, takes practice, and the fact that you were here and we were able to kind of process these two different conversations, two different people. At first, anytime that you practice something, it's difficult, but then it becomes more easy and easier to apply as well outside of therapy. So, all right.
Okay. Thank you.